G'day, welcome to Mt.Coramba Apiculture. It's Saturday the 11th of April. I'm up at Lowanna just to do some work on these hives up here. Mite loads are going up and up and up here. I don't know why, although it does look really similar to what it did last year. I put Bayvarol in all my hives in April last year just because of natural mite growth and also a lot of reinfestation. And I've got a feeling that's happening up here as well. So whether someone nearby is doing a bit of natural beekeeping, that's a possibility, but it looks very much like last year with, rise and bang. So I'm getting counts of 30 to 50 here. And I made the choice yesterday to, once I'd looked through about 5 hives, I made the decision I'm going to put Bayvarol and everything here, which is disappointing, but yeah, it's just the way it is. There's 20 hives here and I want them alive, not dead. So my last video caused a lot of controversy. There was a bit of pearl clutching and some people even yelled at me. I stand by everything I said in that video, and you can go back and have a look at it if you're wondering what I'm talking about. A lot of discussion in social media now about the newfound Varroa resistance or mite resistance in bees. So it looks like at this stage they're resistant to the synthetic pyrethroids, which is Bayvarol, and the other one I can't think what it is, Abistan or something. And also amitraz-based miticides are coming up as resistance as well, and that's what's happening in southeast Queensland now with that big wave of, I guess, just that big wave of infestation in there. It's mixed up with obviously resistant mites as well, and the blame's going on some guy that's just put Bayvarol in twice in a row. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that seems to be what people and even the regulators are homing in on. So, back-to-back use is going to contribute to resistance over time. So people kind of forget that Varroa's been here since 2022. It's widespread through New South Wales and southern Queensland. It may have even been here longer than that, and people could have even been treating for Varroa before it was even found in, before it was even come to the notice of regulators in Australia. So I think there's quite a long time frame of use of synthetics, and then that's, I think, why we've got resistance now. We never had we never had mites that weren't resistant. They've always been here. It's just been amplified, in my opinion. So I've sort of done a bit of a brainstorm, which didn't take long, but I just looked at the other things why we could be getting resistance as well. So non-rotation is an obvious one, and I think that's probably a contribution to what's caused it. People also don't use the right dose, I get. So instead of putting 4 strips of Bayvarol in a hive, they'll put 3 or 2 in there, and it's just a money saving exercise because the treatments are expensive. I get it, but you're not exposing the mites to the full dose that they require. So putting less in than required is going to contribute to resistance. Some people also cut the strips in half, so they're putting a half dose in, so they'll cut them in half lengthwise, or cut them in half, cut the top off and use a half dose the same way, which is the same thing. Strips are being left in way too long. I'll talk about Bayvarol because it's one I'm familiar with, but 8 weeks is the limit for Bayvarol. So people go, oh well, it's they'll do a wash at 8 weeks and it's 0, and they go, oh well, it's still working, I'll just leave it in there, So over time, your mites are getting exposed to that lower dose of the active ingredient, which in this case is flumethrin, and they build up resistance over time as well. So the other thing I think could have been happening is people making up their own home brews of these synthetics. So there's a pour-on called Beekeeping, which is for cattle for mites and ticks. It goes on, just gets poured on their back. It's got flumethrin in it, and I'm sure that there's been some genius who's decided they're going to make their own Bayvarol, and I don't know how it's done. I've got no idea, but that'd be pretty inexact if they're brewing it up in their shed out the back. So I think that's been going on as well. So people making up their own home brews of these things. I've personally seen imported treatments like the Chinese Bayvarol. I've seen that in hives. There's no guarantee that that's the right dose. I don't, you know, the Chinese are great people, but I don't know how well regulated that system is in China. And if you're importing Chinese Bayvarol and using it in your hives to save a few bucks, you may be contributing to the resistance issues. The other thing is temperature abuse. So if you don't keep your strips cool, so at home I keep mine in the fridge in the shed, or at least in a cool house, an air-conditioned house or something like that, they're not going to last as long as if you leave them on the back of your ute in the heat or in your car that's getting hot in the summer, then they're going to lose their effectiveness. So once again, that's going to contribute to resistance. If there's been temperature abuse on those strips, they don't work as well. Last one I'm going to raise is just poor staff training, or just ignorance, I guess, of how these things work. You've got to read the permits and read the labels. And if you've got staff that you're relying on to use these things, you need to train them properly. You can't just say, hey digger, go out and put the strips in the hives today and leave it up to them. You've got to really make sure that they know what they're doing. So yeah, the social media is just melting down. A little bit that I do look at, but it's just melting down about this resistance issue. It just comes back, it always comes back to being a good beekeeper. Use all the treatment options that are at your disposal, and yeah, we've just got to keep going. The resistance was inevitable, so just need to keep plugging away. Always know your mite counts. Always stay on the ball with Varroa, or you will get caught out, like I nearly have here with mite loads popping up to around the 50 level. If I just assumed that everything was fine up here, I'd have got caught out. So we're going to throw Bayvarol in these hives today. Yeah, so let's hop in and have a go. Okay, we're down the first hive here. This is my standard setup. The green comb in there on number 2. So I'm unsure, as I said, why these mite counts are high. I haven't been mite trapping in these hives all spring and summer, so these green combs are just a new addition when I noticed that the mite counts were just popping up a little bit. So I thought, well, let's do some mite trapping and see if that helps, but it hasn't. So I'm going to find the queen in here and do a wash. These combs are a few days later as well, so there's a few drones popping out. Beautiful healthy brood there. I've got a new tripod, so I'm hoping that it works. Only because I lost my old one. I think I left it on the side of the road somewhere. So there's our green comb. So these have had my standard control methods, which is slow release oxalic strips basically, and the late addition of the green comb. So all my hives down in the valley are washing 0s, 3s, 5s, and that's all they've been washing all year. So yeah, I'm a little surprised that I'm getting high counts here. And as I said in the intro, I think someone's having a go at a bit of natural beekeeping up here, and they're in the find out phase of, yeah, anyway. So that's a lovely brood pattern there. I want to find this queen and do a wash. Not super strong, but they're going okay. Once again, a nice healthy brood pattern there. So I made the decision to put Bayvarol in everything, regardless of the mite counts. I can't see mites walking around there, which is a good sign. Nice frame of open brood there. I can see healthy larvae in the bottom of those cells. It's a bit overcast up here at the moment, but the forecast said it was going to be quite hot, low 30s. for that queen. Bit of drone brood here. I'm always working to get rid of that, so that'll be that comb will be a target to replace in the spring. There's my queen walking around there. Just see her there. I'll just grab her with my hair clip queen catcher and sit her safely there. Let's do a mite wash. Right, grab our frame. You've seen me do this before. Nice gentle shake into the tub. Just bump them off. Always put a few more in than you need. And that goes into the cup. And there's my bees there in the wash. So always have a good look at that comb I've shaken the bees off and check for disease. That looks pretty good. Right. Let's get this hive back together. So I'm putting Bayvarol and I don't really need to swap that green comb out, but I want to take it home and have a dig around in it, so I will swap it out. I'm trialling some of this drone wax foundation, so that's been in honey super and drawn out. So I've just got it marked with drone on the top. So instead of the green comb, we'll put the drone wax foundation in. Let's get that wall frame in. So they're a nice strong hive. Here's our Bayvarol. So one of the things I did forget is another reason for resistance is using out-of-date stock. So always make sure that your Bayvarol's in date. So this is January 27, and it's been, like I said, stored in a fridge all that time. So you need it in. On the brood, so I generally start there. Damn it. Horrible things to do anything with. Try it this way. And I want a nice diamond pattern, so one in there. I'm confident there's no resistance here. I had a hive here a month ago that was hitting 50 and nothing I did made any difference, so I made a decision to put Bayvarol in it, and it's after a month it's washing zero. I checked it yesterday, so I'm confident that there's no resistance issues up here, but you need to check. Just because there is some resistance doesn't mean that every Varroa mite in Australia is resistant to Bayvarol, so you need to check. But if you're in southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales, even in the Coffs Harbour area, I've noticed it's east of the highway, around about between Coffs and Grafton, there's resistance in there. There goes that queen. So you need to check that your mites aren't resistant before you rush in and use this stuff. Queen excluder on. Some of these hives I'm going to take the honey super off if they've got enough stores, just to remove that honey before I treat it with Bayvarol, but there's no there's no requirement to do it. You can leave the supers on. So let's get this hive back together and look at this wash. All right, back to this mite wash. Let's see what the numbers look like. That hive I just looked at is right at the front. So I expect them to get a bit of drift, and if this is reinfestation, kind of thinking that would be a reasonable count. So yeah, I can see mites in there. So that's only about a 10, which is surprising. I did note there was quite a bit of drone brood in that hive, so maybe that's sucked quite a few of the phoretic mites up. So, but yeah, I'm just not going to take a chance with these hives. I really don't want to lose anything here, or even have it weakened. Hence the choice for Bayvarol. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's about a 12. So yeah, I mean that's still above threshold. So I think that the choice to use Bayvarol there is justified. I could mess around with these hives and take up a lot of my time, but it's the risk is too high to lose these ones. So yeah, considering there's counts of 20 and 30 in the others, yeah, there's a lot of hives here in close proximity. So I want to make sure I look after them. Okay, so we're down in the brood box of hive 2. Last time I washed this, it had a count of 4. So nothing to be alarmed about, but yeah, let's see what it goes today, try and find this queen. Nice frame of pollen there, 2 or 3 different colours, which is nice. Nice friendly bees. Green comb. The mite trapping's been really successful for me. I'm hoping to not use synthetics at all in the hives down in the valley. I'm just not finding mites in them. Frame of seal brood. Not seeing mites running around, which means my levels aren't that high. Around there. Let's pick her up. Right under a flight path from Brisbane to Sydney here. You hear the odd jet occasionally. Right, let's do a wash. Alright, so we're good to go. Let's get our sample. colonies in the wash there. Right, let's get this hive back together, have a nice look at this brood and make sure it's okay. It's nice and healthy. Right, let's get these bees back together. Put this green comb out so I can have a look inside it. So there's our fresh green comb in. Both sides look good. This wall frame in. Right, so let's get this Bayvarol in. So we're working on this diamond pattern again. Sure I'm doing it wrong, someone will tell me. So one in every gap, right through the brood. Let this queen go. She's on top of the cage there. Right, put this side back together. Do my wash. Alright, they've been soaking for a while. Let's give them a good stir. Let's see what our count's like. I'm going to stop filming now. It just slows me down too much, and I've got 20 hives to get through here today. So, yeah, finding the queen takes time. I'll wash them where I find them. Apart from that, I won't specifically look for them. So I can see mites dropping out of that already. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's going to be a similar one to the last one. Let's give it another stir. But yeah, you know, still on or above threshold. So 9 mites in a wash is too much for anyone really. So I want to bring these hives through the winter best possible condition as I can. And at those sort of numbers, it's Bayvarol, unfortunately. For me, anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, still at 10. So, all right. So I'm going to hook on. All right, so that's got all those hives done. There's 20 there. Just to recap what I did and why, I've been noticing over time the mite count's going up on that site. We're up at Lowanna. I washed one a couple of weeks ago and I had a count of 50, so I put Bayvarol in that. It's been in there for, it's a month actually. So washed it again yesterday and I had a count of 0, so I'm pretty confident that I haven't got resistant mites up here, resistant to Bayvarol anyway. So yeah, just with those higher counts in mind, I've gone through them again today and washed them, and I had another count of 50. I had a majority of them on threshold, sort of around 10 to 15, and the odd one I didn't get, and a few that were around 4 or 5, you know. So I think that justifies putting Bayvarol in. I'm not concerned about it. I would have really liked to get through the season without using synthetics again, which I think I'll be able to do down in the valley. and I don't know what it is about up here. Like I said in the intro, I think, yeah, this site's behaving like it did this time last year, because I went through all my hives last year and put Bayvarol in, because I was getting counts of 30 and 40 across the board. So it's interesting that this has stayed the same, whereas down the bottom it's been much easier to manage. So yeah, I can only put it down to, I don't know, more colonies crashing up here. I don't know. But anyway, I've controlled it in my hives. You know, no one's going to cop a blast of mites out of my bees. That helps me sleep at night, and that means, you know, I'm a good beekeeper. I'm not irresponsible. So, all right, so that's good. I'm going to get back home and have a rest. I've got the bee meeting at home tomorrow, so that should be interesting. A little bit of tidying up and preparation for that. So yeah, thanks for watching.